When my mind gets weary and my eyes get teary, I open my heart and bare my soul. The poetry begins to unfold. As I write or as I type, I capture the rhythm of my life. Happy moments but also pain and strife. Poetry is my water, it's my life, healing to my soul through joy and strife. Absolute beauty unfolds, carrying me into stories untold. It's my life, it's my soul. Poetry, each word a drop, each line a stream, flowing through my hopes and dreams. The healing power takes control, bringing peace to my weary soul.
Good people, it's your girl Miss Cheesecake of Hear Me Out Poetry and the Poetic Clinic. Happy Autism Awareness Month. This is a Hear Me Out Poetry special, a little bit more personal, a little more detailed behind the scenes of what autism looks like for me. So as you can see, I'm not looking all done up. I'm not all dressed up. My hair is not, like super nice. I don't have on a whole bunch of makeup. And I'm literally still in my pajamas in bed. That's because that's what autism looks like for me. See, in certain cases, you get the more filtered version of what autism looks like, that more made-up version, the more TV-worthy look of what autism looks like. But behind the scenes, it's not as pretty as you would think it is. I don't wake up every day with the incentive of getting done up and doing my hair and doing my nails and getting dressed up and doing all those different things. I have to literally be mentally prepared and motivated to do these things. There has to be something that I have to do in order for me to be in that position of actually going through the process of getting myself ready for the day. Everybody with autism is not the same. I will say that. Some people have the incentive every day to get up, get themselves looking beautiful, and they have that motivation to do so. I do not. And I'm gonna, dig a little deeper, and I'm gonna try not to make it like super long, but at the same time, I want it to be lengthy enough to get a better understanding, because I don't normally just sit up and talk to myself on camera. All right, so it is now 2025. I was diagnosed with ADHD, which is actually on the autism spectrum, in 2019. So it's been like 6 years. How I actually came to the process of actually getting the diagnosis was through TikTok, believe it or not. Self-diagnosed it. I knew always throughout my entire life that I was different. I knew that there was a situation to where I was not like everybody else. But back in, being an 80s baby, raised in the 90s and stuff like that, it wasn't really too much that could be done for me back in that time, based on the fact that I didn't show up as the atypical autism person, the typical ADHDer. I wasn't that. So I wasn't the kid that was hyperactive and running around and flipping over desks and doing stuff like that. No. What I have is inattentive ADHD. So inattentive ADHD, there are moments to where I can be physically hyper, if you will. But for the majority, it's all in my head. So I could be sitting here looking and talking to you all on some real cool, calm, and collected type stuff. But the reality of the situation is my mind is going a million miles a minute. It rarely rests. As far as my sleep pattern is concerned, I rarely sleep. And it's not because I don't want to. It's because literally my circadian rhythm is completely thrown off. Either I stay up all night and sleep all day, or it's a situation to where I stay up all night and sleep for 4 hours and I feel like I've rested like the gods, but I haven't. Now, also, what I'll, dive deeper off into is the comorbidities of being neurodivergent, because I don't just have one diagnosis, right? So ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, falls under the autism spectrum umbrella. I also have bipolar 1 disorder. I also have depression, agoraphobia, generalized anxiety disorder. Trying to think of everything here. The ands, let's just put it like that. And you'll hear more about the ands with autism coming soon. But yeah, there are so many different comorbidities and different disorders that coincide with one another, and they all can play on each other at the same time, or you might see individual ones show up when it comes to being on the spectrum, if you will. So autism for me, like I said, this is literally the representation, and really this isn't even the representation. This is me tidying it up a little bit more, to be totally honest with y'all. I know, this is televised and stuff like this, so I had to kind of pull it together a little bit more. But on a real note, like, no, you will not catch me looking pristine and pretty 24 hours a day. Absolutely not. Like, I get it. Some people have their off days, and some people, have their more dressy days, which I do too. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't have that burst of energy to actually go through the process of dolling myself up, because I can. I'm going to be totally honest with y'all. Hear me out, Poetry. Once everything transitioned and we came over here to TV, that has literally been a helping aid and motivation for me to get back into the area of my feminine, if you will. I've always been kind of tomboyish and stuff like that. I could dress girly and things of that nature, but as far as like really taking the incentive and the time and attention to really dive off into taking better care of myself on the physical aspect of things, I have to prepare for this. So when I do things, I have to mentally prepare. And this is another dive off into what autism looks like for me. I don't do well with last minute tasks. If there's something that I have to do, for example, in recording shows for Hear Me Out Poetry, I need to be prepared, like really and seriously, a week or two in advance. I don't really do well with a day, the day of, or 3 days in advance. I can make it work, but really and seriously, I need that time to mentally prep. And what mental prep looks like to me might look like laziness to you. There's a lot of bed rotting. There's a lot of what would look like to you as procrastination. It's literally a functional freeze. So I spend a lot of time in my room or in a room, depends on where I'm at in my house, or what it is that I'm doing, to where it looks like I'm doing absolutely nothing. But what's happening is there's a mental process that's going on to where I'm trying to get my shit together, but I can't quite get it together. And then there's like 1,000,001 things running in my mind to where I need to do them. And I might get some of those things done, and I might not. That is what autism looks like to me. In school, academically, never had any issues. Academically soared. The only areas that I struggled in, and I'm going to be totally honest with y'all, I haven't really taken the time to really go through the process of getting a diagnosis for this, but it kind of falls hand in hand. I can at any point in time, but math was like one of my biggest struggles, and it still is to this day. So I could be focused in making and doing calculations, but then after a while I would get frustrated because the numbers to me, and this is going to sound crazy as hell, maybe y'all can relate, I don't know. But the numbers to me would start to look like piles and piles, like the list would lengthen of things that I had to do. Sometimes I would, which I think is, what is it? Dyscalculia? I can't really say dyscalculia, something like that. Look it up. But like when you're doing reading and stuff like that, it would be considered dyslexia. So academically reading, perfect. Sometimes I would stumble on words, not because I couldn't pronounce them, not because it was a situation to where I didn't know what it was that I was reading, but more so a situation to where it was like things were in reverse. I just never said a word out loud. And I would literally have to go through practicing, which is called, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not sketching. What is it? It's a word. Anyways, it's a situation to where you're literally preparing yourself like a scene, a movie scene. So it comes off as like acting, but it's not. You're literally like trying to prepare your brain to function, which would be considered in neurotypical terms. What else? My sensory issues are pretty bad. Y'all might see me on camera, touching my face, touching my hair. I have issues with body regulation, with temperature. Yes, I'm a big girl. You might see me sweat a lot, or you might see me pick at my skin. You might see me move a lot. Those are stemming mechanisms that kind of keep me at bay and keep me calm because I get nervous. I'm trying to think of what else here. There are certain smells I can't handle. Certain sensory issues that it all falls under the same category. I have stuffed animals. I don't have any in the area that I'm recording in right now because my bedroom is too dark, so I opted out for another room. That's another issue, sensory. The room that I'm in, the light is kind of dim. This is on purpose. I can't really handle like extremely bright lights. It's either the light is going to be this bright or it's going to be a situation to where I'm in my room in room darkening curtains because the light is just extremely bright for me and I'm going to squint and it's just an uncomfortable vibe. So with being on the spectrum, a lot of people don't realize that sensory is the biggest ordeal for us. There are certain things, I don't like being touched. I'm going to put that out there right now. I do not like being touched unless it's a situation to where it's an invitation. If I'm inviting a person to touch me, cool. But if somebody just walks up to me and just randomly starts touching me, especially when it's a situation to where it's not permission, I have an issue with that. Part of that has to do with being on the spectrum, and the other part has to do with me having trauma when it comes to being touched without permission. I don't like being in situations to where I don't feel like my autonomy is of importance. I don't like being told what to do. And when I say I don't like being told what to do, I mean in different ways. So like if you say, hey, Miss Cheesecake, give me that ball. You could be asking me a question, but what I just heard was you telling me to give you something instead of asking me. It's called pathological demand avoidance. I will exactly do the total opposite of what it is that you're asking me on purpose, just for you to say and literally have a conversation as an adult, to ask me a question, because I don't like being told what to do. If I feel like there are too many demands and I have not communicated what it is that I have going on, because this is another thing that we do as neurodivergent people, I'm not the type to fill people in about my life on a day-to-day basis because I don't like to share. I'm very private. If it is something that I'm dealing with mentally, I may or may not share those, instances. It depends on the situation. Because I really don't like nobody knowing my business. I don't. But sometimes I will literally pile on things on top of me not really expressing, because I literally go nonverbal. People think that people that are nonverbal under the autism spectrum are those that don't speak at all. In reality, it's a situation to where you could be completely open and aware of the fact that you speak and all those different things. But when you get overwhelmed and you get overstimulated, you won't talk. I'm one of those. Either I won't speak, I won't write, I won't do anything. There's literally a block. So I wanted to give y'all like the more unfiltered. This is the cleaned up version of unfiltered. I don't like clothes. I don't like things touching me. I don't like when it's too hot. I don't like it when it's too cold. I have issues with regulating my moods. It depends on how I'm feeling. So there'll be some days where you'll see me on camera real bubbly, real excited, and this, that, and the third. It's literally a situation, and I'm going to have to be honest with y'all. I have to disassociate in order to do that. I have to. When you see me more so quiet and more so reserved, that is authentically me. But I'm not going to say that me in the disassociative space, and I'm more bubbly and stuff like that, that's not me too, because it absolutely is. It truly is. But it depends on my mood. Because again, it goes back to those comorbidities. When you find me in the more bubbly state, that is, I gotta be honest, that is the manic side of bipolar disorder. Okay. But also, it's a part of my personality. You can't really 100% say what's going on in what situation. I'm trying to think, what else have I not covered? Yeah, when it comes to food, I'm very picky. There are certain things that I will not eat based on texture, and these things might be very much good for me. I'm not going to eat the shit. I don't like bananas. There is a sexual trauma that is associated with me not liking bananas, as well as a textured issue. I don't like bananas at all. I don't like oatmeal at all. These are all great things that you need to eat. Now, I can eat them in different forms, like banana nut bread. I can eat bananas in a smoothie. If I'm going to eat oatmeal, it'll be an oatmeal cookie. But as far as me just eating it out of a bowl, no, not doing that. I have safe shows. I pretty much watch things that are predictable. Or if it's a situation where I've never watched it before, I kind of ruin movies because my pattern recognition is so on point. Watching 10 minutes of a movie, I'm going to pretty much tell you who the killer is or whatever the situation, however the synopsis of the story goes. You're going to know that I know. Let me see what else. My anxiety is horrible. For a while now, y'all have seen me with the little fake nails. I normally keep my nails, hopefully y'all can see this, I keep them short. I'm a nail biter, a picker, a skin picker. Like, you notice you get that little skin on the side that might hang off from your nails. I do all of that. I have fidgets. I have that a lot too. Those blank outs. Like, I know exactly what it is that I want to say, but I might black out when it comes to thoughts. But I have a emotional support dog. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. Emotional support dog. And there are different things that I take as far as medication to kind of keep me at bay, to keep me at calm and not going to jail, if you will. Because I definitely am a former crash out. And I never understood why I was such a crash out, but I get it now because I'm on the spectrum. And it makes total sense. And, yeah, autism for me, it shows up in various ways. The things that I can think of and things that I've shared so far, I think is like what comes to mind in the moment. Oh, let me speak to the agoraphobia. So agoraphobia is when it's a situation, like you've seen it before in the movies, to where people find themselves having to stay in confined places. Like you have some issues to where people won't leave their homes. I'll leave my home, but I gotta prepare for that in advance. I have to take medication. I can't be around large crowds. I love music, love to make noise. You know what I'm saying? Love doing music shows. But if it's something that's not in my control, I can't handle it. When I leave my house, like I said, I have to mentally prepare. But for the most part, as you can hear, it's quiet in here. I'm in a confined space. I love being alone. It is not a situation to where it's optional for me to be alone. It is literally mandatory. And if you ever question if you're neurodivergent, ask yourself this question. Is it a situation to where you require alone time? Not once in a while, but every day. There is a requirement of you literally having to be alone to do whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is that you're doing, but do you find yourself in a position of where you have to be alone? Because if you can answer yes, ladies and gentlemen, 9 times out of 10, you're neurodivergent. Neurotypical people don't have to be alone every day, all day. And even if it's for short periods, like neurotypical people can enjoy, their space, but it's not a requirement, really and seriously. Neurotypical people tend to be more social. I am not. Even though I come off as a social butterfly, in certain scenarios, I am not. I'm very much introverted. I'm what you would consider an omnivert. When I'm introverted, I love to spend my alone time reading. I like to listen to music. I love to learn. One of my hyper focuses when it comes to the ADHD is psychology. I don't have any degrees in psychology whatsoever, but at the end of the day, that is literally a hyper focus. I should definitely be going to school for this, but again, I have ADHD. So that if I was to actually go and attend college courses, they would have to be special needs classes, because my attention span is like a peanut sometimes. And then I'll hyper focus on things to the point that it becomes obsessive, or it's a situation to where I create multiple projects and I never complete them. It can be very disabling, but in certain areas it's like a superpower, because if you give me a task and it's something that I want to do, then I will complete that task in a timely fashion. Or I might be right before the deadline. It all depends on the situation. Let me see what else we got going on here. Autism. What that looks like to me. I struggle with eye contact. I do. And I always used to think it was a thing to where, like, people would imply that I'm being rude because I wouldn't look them in their eye. It's not that. I'm not trying to not look you in your eye, because if I look you in your if I look you in your eye, I'm gonna look at you like this. It'll more so come off as if I'm staring through your soul. So instead of me doing that, and it also kind of keeps me calm to kind of move my eyes around. So you might notice during recordings that I'm kind of like in and out, like looking at the camera, the viewers, as well as, my co-hosts and stuff like that. It's not that I'm not trying to put my attention on you. That is literally me trying to get comfortable with self. You know what I mean? It's like a stem, if you will, to where I'm like trying to keep myself at bay without, you know what I mean? Like that. I'm trying to think what else. Autism also looks like to me, because before I forget, I am neurodivergent. I fall under the autism spectrum. I have ADHD. And I also am a mother of 2 neurodivergent children. My son, I believe, he hasn't been tested for autism as of yet, but he definitely falls under the umbrella. He has other disorders. But even before age 2, he was nonverbal. Now, that could have been due to the fact that I, at the time, was dealing with a domestically abusive relationship, which definitely can cause impact on children to where they don't want to speak. Or it was a situation to where the tism was tisming, okay? But the mannerisms, I see me in him. Like one thing in particular, echolalia is one of those situations to where I might hear something on TV or a song, and I got to repeat it back. Like if I'm having a conversation with somebody and you say a word, it immediately triggers a song in my head and I might sing out loud. Sometimes when I'm to myself, and I can be totally honest about this, I might have a conversation with myself and be completely functional in this conversation like I'm having with y'all right now, but it's not going to be in full force like this. I might repeat something that I might have heard, or I might express something that might be upsetting to me that only I can relate and resonate with. So I'll speak it out loud just to get it off of my chest. So if somebody walks into a room and hears me talking, they might assume that I'm on the phone. No, I repeat things out loud. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, there's a lot that falls under the autism spectrum, and what that looks like for me. It's so many different things, like hyper focuses. There are a lot of different things that I can sit here and say that are issues that stand out. But at the end of the day, just for the sake of me not being overstimulated, because I don't really do things too long. Oh, wait, before I go, I can't handle long talks. And what I mean by that is not that I can't have a long conversation with somebody, but when somebody is long-winded, it irritates the shit out of me. I'm going to be totally honest. It really does. Slow talkers, slow walkers, if I can't get to my destination and get it done within a timely fashion, I become very overstimulated. So if I have something that would require 2 hours and it goes over those 2 hours, I am absolutely overstimulated and exhausted. You might not see it, or you may see it in my mannerisms because I become impatient. So if there's something that needs to be done by 8, done at 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. and then it's only supposed to exceed 2 hours and it goes an hour and a half longer than that, I'm fucking annoyed. Excuse my cursing, but I'm being totally honest. I cannot handle that. I like clear, concise communication. I do not like last-minute communication. I don't like when there's a situation where there's like a lot of beating around the bush. I like clear, concise communication. Be direct with me. That passive-aggressive behavior, I do not like. Oh, man, this could go on for hours. But this is just kind of like a little snippet of what, the perception of what, my perception and perspective of what autism looks like for me. You'll hear more about autism throughout the next couple of weeks or whatever. And we're going to dive into it more so. But I wanted to definitely kind of give like a more so behind the scenes perspective of what that looks like for Miss Cheesecake. Because it shows up in a lot of different ways. And like I said, we're going to dive into it a little bit further, especially with the ands. But shout out to the Alliance Network, Roku TV, Hear Me Out Poetry. Shout out to DJ Chili Chill in the Birdhouse, Granny WOWZERS, Dev Poetry, Dr. Poetry, Cosmic Oracle, Coast the Apache, and Mo Better Shit. Shout out to everybody out there in TV land, you wonderful listeners. And I hope this gives you like a little bit more of an understanding of the insights of Miss Cheesecake. I bid you adieu. This is all I really could do right now because attentive-wise, I don't really have it. I'm going to be honest with y'all. My bad. It's called ADHD. But y'all be blessed. Never stress, and y'all have a great day.
Hello, I'm Granny WOWZERS, and this is my autism story. And we're going to go back to the 1970s. Yes, people, I was born in 72. Proud of it, whatever, right? In 1970s and early 80s, autism was known, but it wasn't well known. It wasn't as common as what you hear about nowadays, right? In the 1970s, let's see, I was in kindergarten. That was about 76, 77. And they had already told my mom, they noticed that I was very hyper. I couldn't sit still. I was always fidgeting and other things. So comes my first diagnosis, right? I was tested and it was shown that I probably most likely had ADHD. So they advised my mom to maybe change my diet and possibly Ritalin. So my mom said absolutely not. She had heard a lot of bad things about Ritalin and she didn't think I needed it. She just think I needed to refocus. Smart mom, right? So here we go. We're going to fast forward into my third grade year when I was struggling so hard because at the same time, nobody realized I was also dyslexic. So they placed me in special education classes. I've been in special ed pretty much my entire academic life, right? And in special education classes back then, they had things as mental retardation and physical limitations and so forth. So they sat me in a class where I was the teacher's helper, wiping mouths and helping to push wheelchairs and stuff to help the teachers. Classes I did not belong in, but they didn't know that then because they didn't know how to test me correctly, and they didn't realize I was dyslexic, not slow, not any of the other things that they had me classified as dyslexic, which is way different. So they had me repeat the third grade. So I repeated the third grade, which now makes me older. And now I look older than the rest of the kids. I'm taller than the rest of the kids. And I'm children with more severe challenges. I don't want to say disabilities, but different abilities, more severe in their challenges and needs, right? Their high needs. So I'm sitting there and we had a teacher who wasn't a substitute, but she came along and like helped out some of the classes, especially special education classes, and sometimes our classes would merge because we had lack of staffing and just a bunch of other reasons, right? Her name was Mrs. Livingston. Shout out to Mrs. Livingston. She's now long gone on, but she ended up changing my whole dynamic of a lot of things for school. And Mrs. Livingston paid attention to how I was learning and not learning and what they were doing and expecting out of me, right? So she advised them to have me tested for dyslexia. So here comes in dyslexia. And if you don't know what dyslexia is, that is where we see things in reverse, non existent numbers, letters. It's just a whole multitude of things. But it makes it very difficult for us to read, makes it difficult for us to write, and so forth. And when she picked up on that, she had requested for me to be placed in her class with her. And she said that she would spend extra time with me and help me to learn how to read. And that if she was correct, I would never have to go back to those severe special education classes, that I can advance into a different field of special education. Now, mind you, still, I was still under the diagnosis of ADHD, and now they're adding dyslexia to the picture. All ADHD, by the way, is on the autism spectrum, but it wasn't known then. We didn't know of a spectrum. We only knew of short things here and there. So she pulls me out of that class, gets me into the third grade. I'm repeating third grade. I'm bigger than all the other kids. I'm way older than the other kids. And she starts to help me learn how to read. She taught me several tricks to help me focus so I could see the words correctly. And I got pretty good. And I practiced and I taught myself further how to read. I continued to read at home. I read everywhere. It was just a continuous thing for me, right? I was determined to read, so I never had to go back to those severe classes again where I wasn't getting any help. I was basically helping the teachers, and I was just there. So, because of Mrs. Livingston and everything, I got an actual education, right? She gave me the tools I needed, and I practiced really hard because I was, like I said, I was determined not to go back to those classes. I knew I didn't belong in them, but this proved I didn't belong in it. And I was determined to fight and to get higher education. So here we are rolling in. I'm gonna roll all the way up to junior high school. In junior high school, I've always worn glasses on and off. But back then, they also thought glasses would fix your dyslexia, which it didn't at all. It didn't really help at all, other than to help me see so that I could try to read, right? So, junior high school, I'm still in special education, but my level of special education has changed. And I've had coming across several other teachers and things, and they just kept saying, I don't think your diagnosis is correct. Like they kept calling my mom, my grandma mama, because sometimes I was living between my grandmother and my mother and my father. Whenever my father would be in and out of his vacation home, um, prison, in other words, I would stay with my grandma mama, and then my mom would come and get me from grandma mama. Whole other story in itself. But here we are in junior high school, and I'm still struggling. I've taught myself how to read, not very well, but now they're noticing speech impediments. I'm still twitching. I'm stimming, but they didn't know I was stimming. They thought it was a part of the ADHD, but some teachers said, no, there's more going on here. I'm very social, but at the same time, I wasn't. I don't know how to explain that. I was kind of distant, but am able to be socialized. I just didn't do other things that the other kids were doing. It just wasn't my thing. Like, I didn't care to go party. I didn't care to go do wild, crazy things. I did some, but not to the degree that everybody else was doing. It was like, I'd rather be home, or I'd rather be taking care of somebody like my brothers, or, you know, things of that nature. So teachers picked up on the kind of energy and things. I tried cheerleading. I played football on an all boys football team. I did choir. I was in art, like creative writing. Like, I was doing everything, right? Come high school. So, wait, sorry. Junior high school, they retested me, re-diagnosed me. It was the first time I had ever heard the term autism. And it was Asperger's that they were thinking. So part of my diagnosis is from junior high school to high school was ADHD, possible Asperger's or autism. No idea back then what the hell autism was. And this is information that they weren't telling me, that they were telling my mother and my grandmother and, caretakers, whoever was responsible for me at that time. This is stuff they were telling them. I had IEPs since forever, so IEPs were nothing new to me. So I was just like, okay, another IEP, whatever. But they never told me with all these testings and outside testing. So I got tested in school, and then I was sent to special places to go get tested. I don't recall what they were called back then. Here nowadays, it's the regional center in California. But back then, I don't recall what it was called, but I remember going to special testing places with neurologists and other people and things in taking tests, but nobody told me autism. And from later on, when I got re-diagnosed again as an adult, my mother told me that she knew. She knew I had autism because they had told her years ago. She just didn't want to tell me so it wouldn't stifle me in doing whatever I wanted to do. And my grandma mama didn't believe in it. She thought it was hocus pocus, malarkey kind of stuff. That's her word too, malarkey. Um, so she didn't say anything. Nobody told my father anything, so he didn't say anything. So here we are with nobody telling me, nobody's telling the rest of the family. I really can't answer as to why, but I've always been the weird one, the strange one, the one that's whoo out there, right? According to the family, because I wasn't like them. I didn't think like them. I wasn't trying to get high. I wasn't trying to party. I wasn't trying to be a gangster. I grew up with gangsters, but I was more into skateboarding, punk rock, and art and writing in my journals of poetry and music. Music was a huge fascination for me. Music was huge. I was just different from the rest of the family. I don't know how to explain it. Even when they spoke to me as in, oh, pobrecita, que linda, and as a bike rolls by, um, a whole lot of, oh, she's touched, she's special, you know. So yeah, it just kind of was like that. Like, I guess they could sense I was different, most people, um, but they just considered me slow, and they called me special ed. She took the short bus. The R word was called to me. I was called that a lot. The R word was something I heard too many times. And horrible word, horrible word. But it was just like that kind of known. Like they knew, but they didn't know. It was just different. I don't know any other way to explain it. But it sure the heck didn't make it comfortable for me. And with my family situation being all over the place, like I was too much for my mom to handle a lot. And I don't hold anything against her because it was a lot for her to deal with. And my father was in and out of prison. My grandmother took me when she could, but I was passed around with aunties, uncles, and it was just a consistency. And that's one side, aunties, uncles on one side, tias and tios on the other side, and it was just constant. We don't know what to do with her. We don't know how to help her. So here, you try. And that was kind of my life right there. Um, Again, nobody telling me that I'm autistic. It's just, you're different. You're strange. You're weird. What's wrong with you, girl? Get it together. Like, step up, be different. Like, why are you like this? And a whole lot of questioning me, like something was wrong with me. So I felt something was wrong with me, and I didn't like it. I didn't know how to navigate with that. And all I had was my writing. So I wrote. I wrote poetry, I wrote stories, I painted, I drew, and people are like, "Oh, you're really good at this." That's when I first started hearing, "Oh, you actually can do something." And then I got into mechanicism because my father was a mechanic. So I wanted to know what he did. How did you do this? How do you make that work? How does this work? Why does it work that way? A million questions. But in my brain, I could, as he's describing it to me, I physically and mentally could see it. Like with my eyes, physically could see it in like in front of me, like a movie screen. And mentally it made sense. So mechanics was easy. I knew how to make the pistons and in combustion, and if you throw a shift kit in an automatic transmission, it'll make it act like a stick shift. I understood all of it, and it was beautiful to me. All that stuff was beautiful. So when my father was out, he, because I was interested in how to work on vehicles, he taught me how to work on vehicles. None of my brothers wanted to pay any attention to it. Like, I watched my father tear down a whole vehicle, it down to the chassis, and rebuild it all up. And I watched and I asked and I learned, and he taught me because I wanted to learn. Why not teach her? and it was fascinating to me. Started taking radios apart and putting them back together. My cousins would bring me their broken Walkmans, their broken boom boxes, and I would take it apart and solder things together and put it all together, not knowing any any technical terms. I was just putting it together. I could look at the interface and be like, there's the problem. Fix it, put it back together. Here you go, and it would work. And they found usage for me, I guess you could say. And I was excellent with other children. I could be around children all day long, just like little younger children understood me. I understood them, and it was easy. So I was the cleaner, the cook, the babysitter, always the babysitter, and so forth. So come high school, I'm going through high school. I'm doing all these like multitude of things. I had to keep myself busy. I was working a full-time job in high school. So I only went to school part-time, and the rest of the time I was working a job. I was working at Kmart by then. And I was making and paying rent and buying my own school clothes, buying my own stuff, paying for my own school dances, and getting earning credit for school for working for school. So it kind of worked out. But they still didn't know what to do with me. Um, it was very difficult as a child because even as a teenage child, they still didn't know what to do with me. I didn't fit their narratives. I didn't fit in their world. My cousins didn't treat me any different. Well, I can't say that either. Some of them didn't treat me any different. But the other ones always looked at me weird, especially my second, third cousins that were girls, because I grew up with all boys that are my first cousins. My guy cousins didn't look at me any weird. They treated me like one of the guys. I was always treated as one of the guys. I was tough. I would fight. I knew how to fix things, and I didn't dress girly, so it was just I'm one of them. But my girl cousins, my second, third cousins that were girls, thought I was very strange because I wasn't into doing my hair. I did it, but I really wasn't. I don't know how to explain. I wasn't very girly. I was very different. So because I wasn't like my girl cousins, or no matter how much my aunties tried to like shape me and mold me into a young lady or young woman that they thought I should be, um, they thought I should have a husband. So here I am, my senior year of high school. I worked so hard, so hard. I was on the path to graduating. I didn't need any credits. All I had to do was show up every day until graduation, right? And then I was done. I was out of school. I finished it. In my head, I was going to join the Navy SEALs and become one of the first women Navy SEALs, because we didn't have female Navy SEALs back then. So in my head, I was going to become a Navy SEAL, and after I get out of the military, I was going to become a police officer. I know this sounds way weird from what Granny Wowzers is now, but this was my plan back then. I didn't know I had autism. So when I made plans with the recruiter, and they look into your background, and they pull up your medical records, and they speak to family members, and it was just a whole ordeal then. And they said I couldn't join the military, and I didn't understand why. And I was really brokenhearted because I had this whole plan to get far away from the family. I was going to do something great. I was going to be a Navy SEAL, be super tough, tougher than the boys, tougher than anybody I've ever known. Get out the military and become a police officer and show them that I could do something right. That was my plan. And then for them to say no, I couldn't. Medical reasons is what they gave me. Again, nobody told me I was autistic. So my family marries me off. And instead of graduating high school, I got married. And my ex husband had no idea what to do with me because I didn't want to be touched. I didn't want to be extra lovey dovey. I didn't want, I didn't know how to be a wife. I didn't know how to be in a relationship. I didn't know how to be an adult. In my head, I felt like I was still 12. I really felt 12 for as far back as I can remember. I felt like I was 12. I knew my age, but I felt like I was 12. And so they wrapped me up in church, which I had all that going back and forth with school stuff. There was also church involved, right? And I did a lot of church activities, a lot of worship team, a lot of leading the youth and street teams and everything. And I really believe. So I was wrapped up in church, and my ex-husband had his own challenges and things, and that whole marriage was just a complete horrible nightmare of me not knowing how to handle break. I was having meltdowns and mental breakdowns, and you know again, I had no idea I was autistic. I thought I was just a regular person who was just weird and strange, and nobody could get me and understand me. Nobody understood me. Like, nobody. Not the pastor, not my family, not anybody really, except for maybe one cousin. His name is Artie. He was my uncle cousin, actually, born cousin by birth and uncle by adoption, because my grandparents adopted him after my auntie that I was named after passed away. So he was the only one that understood me, and I kind of understood him too. He was I don't want to say more strange, but they called him special. Like, he was different. Like, oh, that's just Artie, man. That's Artie's way out there, man. What Artie's doing Artie things, and that's the way it was. And we all knew something was different about Artie, just like they all knew something was different about me too. But nobody had a word for it. We didn't know there was autism. We didn't know that there was other things out there that it could possibly be. We just knew he was different, I was different, and we were in this world. And being married and not knowing you're autistic and still being called strange and weird, and now I have a whole new family calling me strange, weird, and not understanding anything about me, and expecting a lot from me. It was very lonely, very scary, and no way out. I literally felt I had no way out of this situation, and I just made the best of it for as long as I could. And then when I got divorced and I began my own life, again, I heard strange, different. I could never make a relationship work. I just couldn't, because I don't want to be touched. I can be. So, yeah, I just couldn't make it work with anybody. Um, yeah, no matter how much I might have wanted to make it work, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I just had a lot of people telling me, people who weren't even related to me now, people who came in by relationship, by surrounding parties, that I was weird, I'm different, I'm strange, and I was wrong. I'm always the one wrong. And I didn't understand, because I didn't even know how to go get tested for autism. And then I met a friend of mine named Tanya, and she had a little girl, Ashley, who is severely autistic. And I I could tap into this little girl like it was no problem. I was drawn to this little girl. And it's the first time I ever really, really heard autism. And people were telling me then, maybe you're autistic. Maybe you're just a different form of autism, or something. And I was like, I would look at Ashley and be like, but I don't do what Ashley does, you know. I don't act like Ashley does. And nobody said that there was different levels of autism, or there was this wide spectrum. I was just beginning to learn, and I was in my late 20s then. And again, nobody told me that autism had been a part of me too before I even left school. No one told me. I didn't know. I just thought something was wrong with me. I've always thought something was wrong with me. And so, fast forward, um, failed relationship, failed relationship, failed relationship. And I'm so, no matter what I did, I went back to school. I tried to get more degrees. I had high status jobs. I became the first female mechanic at the Ontario airport in California for the shuttle buses, which was amazing. Um, I worked in a laboratory. I had these really, to other people, would be off wall jobs, but they were just stuff that sparked my interest. And I was very good at them because I hyper focused. And I didn't know that I was hyper focusing, but I hyper focused, and that made me excellent at these jobs, right? So they loved me at these places. And I worked so hard for so many different areas and things, and like accomplishing so much, still not knowing I'm on the autism spectrum until I had a child. I was pregnant at 42, and they were already telling me something was wrong with my pregnancy. I had already had 4 daughters, and then it had been 16 years, almost 17 years before I got pregnant again with my son that I have now, Sunshine, right? And they were testing me while I was pregnant with him for a slew of things. And then one doctor said, "Have you ever been tested for autism?" And I said, "Why do people keep telling me that I have autistic traits? I know I'm ADHD and I'm dyslexic." And he goes, "Yeah, but I got a doctor. Why don't you go see the doctor just for giggles, go get tested and see what he says." I was like, I was like, okay, it was a bad pregnancy, so it was very touch and go. So I wasn't really expecting anything from this result, right? So I go get tested. I go to the regional center, and I sit there. It's about they. Let me rephrase that. So I get tested. I go to the regional center, and the regional center sends me to another mental health services for adults, because the regional center focuses on children. Unless you're a part of the regional center from childhood growing up, they kind of don't take you too much as an adult, right? But they sent me to another facility, and I got tested through this facility, which I'm still a part of to this day. um, and they gave me the test for autism. First, they tested me for ADHD to make sure that I do have ADHD. So after doing this test with this other clinic, um, I would say it, but I still go to that clinic. um, they test me for ADHD to make sure that I do have ADHD, and they tested me for like a few other disorders and challenges in mental health wise and things like that. So when we get to the autism testing, they asked me like about almost 3 hours worth of different tasks and things and questions, and look for my response, read my body language, read how I responded, all of that stuff. And then sure enough, about like a week later, I got all my test results back. So I'm legally diagnosed ADHD, autism spectrum disorder. um I have PTSD, depression, anxiety, and panic disorder. So yeah, all of that fun stuff together, right? So I have all of that. But it really answered a lot of questions. I asked like a million questions, like, how do you know that this is autism? You know, and what level am I? What form am I? What does this mean? All of that stuff. And this was right before they switched, where they took out Asperger's, right? So they said I had Asperger's, which is a very high functioning of autism. I have ADHD and all the other stuff I just mentioned, right? It just answered so many questions. Like I felt, instead of being depressed or like, oh my God, I'm autistic, what do I do now? No, it was more like, wow, finally, I'm not weird. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm really trying not to cry, but that was huge. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. It's called autism, Asperger's. All these famous people, like, they gave me a list of famous people that have Asperger's and all the things that they're doing and amazing stuff that could be done, and that it shouldn't change anything in my life other than give me answers. And that's exactly what it did. It gave me answers, and it gave me answers at the perfect time, because I was about to have a little boy who I didn't know then. He, to my knowledge, during my pregnancy, he was going to be born with spina bifida and maybe some mental challenges. And when I gave birth to, so while my diagnosis really didn't change much in my life, other than I have more help, more people willing to help me. It gave me more services that opened up for me so that I didn't have to struggle so hard. I'm still struggling, but not to the degree that I was struggling before the diagnosis. And it helped me with my son, because when he was born, they had said that he could possibly be born with spina bifida, and there was a couple other things that they said possibly, right? So when I gave birth to him, I was expecting them to tell me spina bifida. Instead, they said he didn't have spina bifida, he had arthritis of the spine, which could potentially cause him issues later on as he gets bigger, you know, as he grows older. And that was like, you know, whatever. But by around 3 months old, I noticed signs in my son. And I wouldn't have noticed any of these signs had I not known this little girl named Ashley, Tanya's daughter, and watching how she was in things. My son was 3 months old and he was staring off at the walls, refused to make eye contact, and he was laughing and crying at things that weren't there. And then when we tried to interact with him, it was a whole lot of, you know, not wanting to look at us, not wanting to engage. It was very strange. I got a gut feeling right then, this could be autism. And so I called his pediatrician and I said, hey, I have a strong feeling my son has autism. And she goes, oh, he's only 3 months old. You know, we don't even diagnose till they're 3 and so forth. But she asked me questions like, why did I think it? And I was telling her in detail. And she said, okay, let's keep a journal. She goes, I still think you're reaching a little much. It could be anything, but let's keep a journal and we'll keep an eye on him and see what happens. So he got to about, he was almost 1 years old, and he was meeting milestones, but he wasn't at the same time. There was a lot of things that he wasn't there yet, and there was no words or anything of that sort. So, and she started to take notice as we were visiting regularly. She was noticing things about him too, that he was not responding back, and he was still like dodging eye contact. He would play with us, but he wouldn't really. So here we are. I've got journals like I've written in a book of all his milestones and everything, what he's accomplished, what he hasn't accomplished, what words he's trying to say, if he was doing the anything, right? And a year, his first birthday, so 1 year, and the pediatrician and I have both been keeping journals and monitoring his progress and things. And she said, I'm going to recommend him to early intervention. And he was just a year old. He hadn't even started to walk yet. He was a little delayed in some of the motor skills as well. So she recommended early intervention. And I was like, yeah, whatever I need to do to help my son get as far as he can, the earlier the better. I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to put in the work. So she said, great. So we got early intervention going. And early intervention is where they have ABA therapists come out to your house. So they come, they sit with him, they teach him to play blocks, they teach him to interact, get eye contact, and all of that. And he was like a superstar in this, right? Everything except for speech. He just didn't have speech. So he's still considered non-speaking. His speech is very, very limited. And so early intervention continued, and he got diagnosed. He was just shy of 3 years old, and he was diagnosed mildly severe and non-speaking or nonverbal. And I was like, wow, okay. So I wasn't depressed. I wasn't sad. I didn't mourn my son that I thought I was going to have, like they tell you. Um, Instead, it was like, okay, okay, so what do I do next? How do I help my son? How do I help him? Because now we have more information and more knowledge that nobody had for me, and I wanted to do everything I can to help my son. And luckily there was way more programs and things to help him than there ever was for somebody like me in the 70s. He was born in 2014, so he had way more help than I ever did. And that's a blessing. So we did early intervention. He was later sent to an amazing place called Autism Learning Partners in Downey, California. Shout out to them. Amazing, amazing place. So we did I did, because I forgot by the time he went to Autism Learning Partners, it was just me and Sunshine, right? And we were unhoused at that time too. So I didn't want to tell a lot of people that I was living in my ex's old beat up Honda Accord, or that I was staying, like whenever his paternal grandmother allowed us to stay with her, we stayed with her, but she would constantly kick us out. So we were basically living in the car, and then sometimes we would stay with her, which was not an easy feature dealing with somebody who has severe autism, and because they don't understand why we always in this car. But it became his safe space, his safe haven space after a while. His car seat was one of his favorite places to be. um, he got used to eating and sleeping and being changed in the vehicle. And then we'd go to grandma's house, take a bath, shower, cook food, back to the car when she didn't want us around. It was very, for me, it was very stressful. And in my autism, being on high stress and anxiety and panic disorders and things, he gave me something to focus on. Again, I do hyper focusing, right? So he gave me something to hyper focus on. So I hyper focused on my son, which I still do a lot. And so my symptoms, my triggers, my things that I'm dealing with my autism and everything that I have going on kind of like minimized so that I could focus on Sunshine, right? I wanted to give him everything that I didn't get. I didn't want, and when I ever hear anybody say he was strange, weird, or I didn't want him to ever not feel like he didn't have what he needed to succeed. And success is in the smallest things. So, a regional center in California gave him his diagnosis. Regional center sent him up with everything. Um, Autism Learning Partners, which is a ABA therapy based, which I'm not a big fan too much on ABA therapy. And this is where I tell a lot of parents ABA therapy is sort of necessary. I say sort of, it's a case by case situation. Sunshine needs ABA therapy, he needs that extra guidance. But I am the parent, and I will not allow ABA to push him beyond what he's capable of doing. I know he's capable of a lot. So regional center gave us so much help, and it put me in touch with programs to get us to help us get unhoused. At the same time, while we were unhoused and he was at school with the Autism Learning Partners, um, I would work. So I'm working everything. Him having this Autism Learning Partners, not only was it amazing for him because it helped him advance so much with their ABA services that they do, their techniques and stuff is more focused on the child's needs versus what they expect from him, if that makes sense. So they weren't expecting him to do things. They were at his level, and they reached into where he was at, and they helped him in that sense. And I saw them do amazing things with other children too. But at the same time, I drop him off at 7:30 in the morning, 7:30, 7:45 in the morning. His session starts at 8. They bring him in, they gave him breakfast, they feed him during lunchtime, and they gave him like a snack, a dinner snack kind of thing. So by the time I pick him up, it was about 5:30, so just right on time to eat dinner. And that allowed me to work in between, which was amazing. And by the time I picked him up, he was so tired from having a wonderful day at this place. He, he was just ready to go to sleep. He never made it back to Pasadena wide awake. And we were staying around Altadena and Pasadena area, right? Above Orange Grove by Lake and all that whole area, everywhere that it actually burnt down. We were all around there, and it just helped so much. It helped so much, and all these programs and things. It allowed his programs to be done at Autism Learning Partners. But once we graduated from Autism Learning Partners, and he had to go into school, like a public school, that's when the real fun began. IEP meetings again, and special programs, speech, occupational, and now he has physical. It's just like there's a lot of stuff these kids got to go through. It's a lot on the child. And I think a lot of these facilities forget that there's the child, that this is a child, not an adult, not a grown up, not a teenager who can handle all of this workload, because that's what it is. So, all those programs and things, and then trying to get him to school and expecting him to rest, it's a lot on these kids. And once he reached 5, he was, um out of Autism Learning Partners. He aged out, is what they call it. They call it aging out. So he was in public school, and now he has a whole new solution of things to go through. But he was a thank God for the Autism Learning Partners, because they got him in the regular routine to do stuff for school. So when he started kindergarten, he didn't have such a rough time. Maybe the first day or two, like most kids do when they start kindergarten, but it wasn't that hard for him because this was familiar routine, and but he's a master eloper on top of his diagnosis of autism. which is a part of autism too. And eloping means that they run away. They escape. They're master escape artists. They can unlock and open windows and figure out how to get out of your home, and they just disappear. Or when you're walking with them, they'll break free from you and disappear. They're master escape artists, and they basically run away from you pretty much. And that was scary because here I am locking doors, locking windows. I always was smart about the window locks and stuff. So window locks was like not a big deal to me. I knew about window locks since my other girls were little. So I got window locks, and I thought I was good on locking the door because the door that I have here, this is when we became housed again. I jumped so far ahead, but the programs and stuff helped us to get housed through the regional center and through other programs, and then me saving money like crazy. All the money that I made while working, while he was at Autism Learning Partners, I was able to save and stack up money so that we could get into this apartment that I'm still in to this day. 5 years later, I'm still here. But eloping and all that stuff became something more I had to worry about. I worried about a little bit when we were unhoused, but he was always like right there next to me, so it wasn't as bad. And I always had wrist leashes, because even my other children, I always had like harness leashes, wrist leashes, and stuff, so that nobody could steal them from me, right? And for I did the same with him, but that kept him from eloping from me. Now we're in an apartment, and I'm thinking the door is heavy and the lock was hard for me to turn to unlock it, right? The deadbolt and everything. So I figured so I'm thinking he's safe. And since he was little, even um he either went to the restroom with me, or I left the door cracked open if we are staying at somebody else's house, because again, I was unhoused most of the time he was little. I would leave the door cracked open when we are at somebody else's house, just so I could see him or hear if he tried to get out or something. But here now we're in our own apartment, so now I'm going to the bathroom with the door open so I can see what's going on here. If he got any danger, I can jump up and go grab him. And one day, I'm in the bathroom. I just got in there, and I heard the door open. All this time, he wasn't able to turn the lock because it was so tough to turn the lock, and he was gone. It was just like boom, 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 seconds. And we're like above garages, so we have staircases to go down. And he was quick. He was in a diaper, ran by neighbors, and nobody stopped him. Nobody thought stop this child from the busy street that's like inches away from him, right? Nobody thought to stop him. Luckily, I was quick, got out of there. I mean, I don't want to go into the gross details, but I was out of the bathroom quick and ran down the street, grabbed him just before hitting the busy street. That was first time. So now I think, okay, he can unlock the doors. Um, I gotta figure something out. So I ordered a Ring camera. I got door alarms. I got window alarms. So can't open the door, can't open a window without the alarm going. Beep. Not even the bathroom door you can open without the alarm going off when I'm not in there, because he likes to play in the toilet and yeah, all the fun stuff, right? And so this time I'm like, I got this. I'm good. Always when I'm in the bathroom. I don't know why. This kid just like, mom's in the bathroom, time to go. Kind of stuff. And yeah, so I'm in the bathroom again. Alarm goes off. I'm running down. He Before I could catch him, he had made it across the street, and he sat in somebody's somehow he opened a car door and sat in somebody's car. Freaking out, right? Freaked out. Don't know where he's at. I got all the neighbors looking for him because now they're caught on that he's autistic and things, and that this is not my fault. And we're looking, and one little girl goes, so this little girl saw him. And thank goodness for this little girl. She said, I saw him go over there by the cars. And so we, like me and like a whole bunch of people, just run over there, right? We're running over there to stop in traffic because it's a very busy street right here. And sure enough, he's sitting in the front seat of somebody's car that didn't lock their car door. It's hot outside. He's in a diaper. So I get him and I bring him back, and everybody's like all excited that he was found. Everything was okay. And, they said, really got to figure out a better system for this guy. Agreed. So then I bought chains for the very top of the main door. And then I got a glass screen door. So now we have two doors he has to go through, right? And I makeshift a gate for the top of the stairs. Anything I can to slow this boy down is what I've done. Okay. So, and these are things you have to do when your child elopes, because it takes a millisecond for you to be busy doing something and your child will be gone. So I have a ring door camera on the glass door that faces the outside, and that tells me which direction he went, right? I have chains at the on both doors at the very top, at the highest point that I could put them without them being ineffective. So both he has two doors to go through, two chains at the top of the doors, alarms that'll go off, the ring camera that will catch whatever direction he's going, the makeshift gate that I put at the top of the stairs. He's got to go through all these barriers now, right? So the elopement stopped at home, but it didn't stop at school. And he's at this school, and I've been pushing and pushing for him to have a one-on-one aide. And when, especially when I went to the school and I saw they just had this really tiny baby gate, and I was like, he's bigger than this baby gate. He's gonna step over it in 2 steps and be gone, right? And nobody was listening to me because my record now states that I am autistic. And he's autistic. So who's going to listen to me, right? I'm the overthinker. I'm just being exaggerated. I don't know what I'm talking about, right? I've only raised 4 other children before I knew I was autistic. But hey, I don't, it is what it is. So I'm complaining about the baby gate. I'm telling him he needs a one-on-one personal aid. Nobody's listening to me. Nobody cares. And till he elopes from a locked school campus. Yeah. First time they called me. So they call me like hours later to tell me that he eloped from a locked school campus. Now, how does that happen? They said that the teacher said that she was teaching and he was in the back of the classroom, and they have other aides in the classroom. There's 2 other aides, but it's no personal aid for him. And they were busy changing what somebody else, because a lot of these kids don't know how to use the restroom either, and you have to change their diapers and make sure change their clothes if they have an accident, so forth. So it's a teacher and 2 aides in a classroom of like 10 kids. And so somehow he managed to get by all of them over the baby gate. And one of the maintenance workers left a gate open on the campus because they were doing some work, thinking all the kids are in the classrooms. My son makes it through the gate before getting caught. And they found him sitting in the grass. Luckily, he sat down and didn't go down to the street, but he's sitting in the grass. So they call me, they tell me what's going on. So again, I'm pushing for a personal aid. I'm calling the school district. I'm bugging the principal. I'm bugging anything and everybody that I can think of to get him a personal aid. They ignore me. He escaped 4 more times. And these other times, the school was not letting me know right away so that I could possibly help or just know that my son is missing. One time he was found, 2 times he was found within the school campus, just on the playground. One was in the cafeteria. How he's getting into these places with nobody noticing him, I don't know. And then the last time he made it down to the street. And they waited. It was like an hour past the time he was supposed to be dropped off at school before they called to tell me. The bus was rolling up as they were telling me that he had gone missing. So now I'm really angry. I'm very livid. I'm contacting ADA services, people for lawyers and things to like sue, and because I'm mad. I've been bugging, I've been asking for a personal one-on-one aid. That's all I wanted, was a one-on-one aid just for Sunshine. And it took all this fighting and stuff, a year and a half. So he went a whole year with no aid. In the next year, same teacher, same school, same classroom, he finally gets an aid. And I was just livid. And these are the things we have to fight for constantly for our kids. You have to fight for, their own protection. So we're constantly having to fight for things our kids need, like personal aids at school, like extra precautions when they're in a loper. I told them since day one, he was already classified as an eloper. He is a danger to himself. He has no understanding of danger. He doesn't understand a car can harm him, those things. And they just ignored me, even after he escaped them. There was like no reassurance whatsoever. So I pushed so hard that I pushed the school district so hard that they transferred him to another school across town. Like, I was like, come on, people. Like, so we go from issues at this school to sending him across town where he's even further away and on a busier street. But this school is way better. This school has been like a difference in everything. He had a personal aid. The school stays locked. There's only one way in, one way out, even for service workers. And the classroom has a metal higher gate if they have the door open. And he has his own personal aid, so he's never by himself, right? And there's gates within gates. So these kids he's a master escape artist as it is, so I'm sure he could figure it out eventually. But for right now, there's gates on gates, and he has to really like mentally map it all out and go through it, which I'm pretty sure he can because he's very, very smart. He's still non speaking. He still has several challenges. I'm still changing diapers. He's 10 years old, and I'm changing diapers. I do have some success with restrooms and stuff like that, but it's very hands on. My son needs 24-hour care. And with autism comes several other diagnoses. It's never just autism spectrum disorder, it's autism spectrum disorder and ADHD and depression and bipolar and I call it the ands. You've probably heard me say it on a few other episodes here on Hear Me Out Poetry. I call it the ands because it's always autism spectrum disorder and something else. It's never just autism spectrum disorder. It's always the ands, right? And with those ands come different programs, different um, routines, medications, practices, everything to keep your children safe. It is a battle, constant battle. In a sense, my mom kind of saved herself. My mom and my grandma kind of saved themselves from all of this. So it's like a multitude of things you have to do for these kids, and if they're depending on their level of autism or more of, I don't, I don't even know how to say it because it's not really level of understanding because he understands, he knows that a bathroom is for going to the bathroom, but he doesn't understand how to hold his movements for the bathroom. So that has made potty training very challenging. Sometimes I can see his body movement and his notions and things that are telling me he's getting ready to have a movement. So then I rush him to the bathroom and we have success. And I have a lot of success versus non success. But if let me be busy, let me be working because I do a lot of telehealth and I do a lot of things for social media and stuff like that. So let me be distracted, I should say, from not 100% attention on him, and he'll just go to the bathroom because it's like, well, I gotta go, so here it goes, and that's kind of his attitude. So this it makes it difficult. And now that he's big, because he's 10 years old, but he's 5 foot. He's like 5'1" and 143 pounds. So I'm changing somebody who's almost my height. I'm 5'6". We're not much difference. And I'm still changing diapers. I still have to fully assist him in the bathtub, shower, and wash his hair and all of those things. He is a 24-hour care service. Um, he has come a long way in multiple areas. This is where I go back to the success stories. Every little thing is a success. Every success is a milestone. Everything is a win and an advancement when he masters it. And he's very intelligent at the same time. And that's something people take for granted too. They think autism, they're dumb, they don't understand. They do understand. Their understanding is different. It's on a different level. Same as mine. I have full understanding of things to a degree. Some things I have to ask. What does that mean? I don't know what that is. Like, why would people do that? And people have to explain it to me. And once they explain it to me, I'm like, okay, sometimes I'll never get it. I got to be honest. And I know this. I'll never get it. And it's kind of like my sunshine. Some things I can explain to him and he gets it. Some things I'll explain to him and I'll repeat it and we'll repeat it and repeat it. It becomes a repeated emotion, a repeated motion and action. But he never really understands to the fully. He just knows that this is a repeated action and emotion that we go through. And that's his autism. And it's just, as much as there is a lot of work to put into autistic children and adults too, because you forget we grow up. Autistic children grow up into adults and it never stops. Autism doesn't go away because you turned 18. Autism is with you forever. It's your life. It's who you are. And without programs and services that help us along the way, not only does it make it harder on the parent, it makes it harder on the person with autism. Um, so many of these programs help us to be individuals and independent and get to enjoy our levels of life. And without them, we do what? Go back to um, facilities where it's mandatory for us to live in the same place day in, day out, no, not capable of anything, um, deemed as the R word again, and um, not for society. It's just so much ugliness comes without these programs that give us so much. And autism is more than just awareness. It's more of reaching into who we are as individuals. We're not weird. We're not strange. Something's not wrong with us. It's you, the people watching us, the people coming across us. It's you. You need to learn how to reach into us, step into our world, learn how to reach us. We can do so much. We have limitless possibilities, but you'll never know it if you don't tap into our world. Figure out how to talk to us. I'm still figuring out Sunshine. He changes just like anybody else would change as they mature and grow. My Sunshine does too. And I'm trying to step up to his level and reach into his world. Even though we're both on the autism spectrum, we're not the same. His spectrum is different than my spectrum. And I have to learn how to step into his world. And you, the viewers, the people watching us out there in the world, need to learn how to step into our worlds. Learn to recognize different things and don't call it weird or strange or something's wrong with that person. Don't call us touched. Don't call us special. Don't call us special ed. Don't call us a short bus. Those things are harmful and hurtful, and they make me mad now as an adult. So mental health services, health services, Medicaid, Social Security, disability, um, all these programs that come with autism on different levels, because everybody's different, so they have different programs, different resources and things that they need. All of these things matter. Without them, we're stuck back in a mental facility, incarcerated pretty much. It's basically putting us in a prison because we never get to leave. We can't experience life. We don't get to live and be an individual and a part of society as we are. We're not made to fit in your puzzle piece. We are infinite possibilities. There's no limit to us. We're limitless. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to step into our world and help pull that out. I hope that makes sense, because I don't know any other way to explain it other than take the time to find out more about an autistic person as the individual, in these cures and all of this nonsense and stuff about, oh, do this and it'll cure autism. There's no cure. And would you really want to cure autism? Because by curing autism takes away from who the person was to begin with. They were always autistic, so now you cured the autism. Who are they now? They're not the same person that you loved, not the same person that you raised, and not the same person. They become something different. Who knows who they could be? But it doesn't mean better. Cure doesn't always mean better. Sometimes cure erases, it eradicates. In what you have afterwards, we don't know. We don't know what other challenges and disorders could come with an autism cure. I don't want it. I don't want it for my son. I don't want to cure my son. He's autistic. This is who he is. He's funny. He's silly. He's intelligent. He cracks me up. As much as he wears me down, he fills my life with everything. I don't know what I would do in my life without my kids. And my sunshine, I call him sunshine for a reason, because when I'm depressed and lonely and everything, I look at my son and he fills my life with sunshine. So he's my sunshine. And I really tried to do this thing without crying. I really did. But it's all right. I had to take a minute. I'm still trying to get some stuff out the way. But yeah, he's my sunshine. And I want a different world for him. I don't want this world that these people are cutting things and taking away and limiting his possibilities. That's not fair. Nobody should ever limit somebody's possibilities. It should be limitless for our children. They should be able to have a future, not locked away, not kept away, put away somewhere. They should have anything they want. Possibility is endless, right? To a neurotypical child, you don't put limitations on them. You say the world is yours, and whatever you may become is what you become. Be great. Okay, well, I'm looking at sunshine and I'm like, the world is yours. Your limitless possibilities. Yes, I know you have challenges. Yes, I know you need this. Yes, I know you need that. I know you need help, but it's your world. And it's my duty as your mom to step into your world and figure out how to help you, how to get help for you. That is my job. So if you're an autistic parent like I am, or you're just coming into autism, or you know nothing about it, reach out to me. I'll talk to you. You got questions? I got a million answers. If I know the answer, I will give it as much as I can. But the number one thing I don't want you to do is to look at your child and say, oh, what do I do now? and feel hopeless. I don't want you to look at your child and say, he'll never be this or she'll never be that. She'll never do and she'll never, 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 because you don't know what your child is capable of. And it's up to you to give them the resources and the support that they need to be limitless. We are not the end all. It doesn't end with autism. Autism is forever in us, but that's not who we are. We are individuals. Everybody's different. Nobody's the same. We have similarities, but we're not the same. And I'm really big on not just, you could take these home tests. They have a lot of home tests all over the internet for autism. I really strongly suggest that you get a professional diagnosis and go get professionally diagnosed. But get out there and step into autism, step into the world. Whoever you come across that's autistic, step into their world. Don't force them to fit into yours, because they were born to stand out. This is not a puzzle piece, like a square puzzle piece trying to fit into a round circular hole, and you're forcing that puzzle piece to fit into your world. No. Stop forcing those puzzle pieces to fit into your world. Admire, accept, and encourage and uplift and build and have limitless possibilities for autism, and step into their world. Stop trying to force them into yours. Step into theirs and see the capabilities and the possibilities that they have. Do that. Again, I'm Granny WOWZERS. This is my autism story, and it's only a small snippet of it. I have limitless stories to tell about my journey with my own autism and my son's. There's too much to fit into this whole video. If you have questions, email us here at Hear Me Out Poetry. Dr. Poetry has an email, has a phone number. Ask questions. Reach out to me on social media. I will answer whatever you ask. And if I don't have the answer, I will at least try to direct you to someplace where you can get the answer. Embrace your children from childhood to adult. It doesn't stop at adulthood. There's still possibilities. Watch the show called Love on the Spectrum. It's limitless possibilities. It's not something to be sad and mourn, something to celebrate. And you celebrate in all the wins. It makes the small wins huge. I'm Granny WOWZERS, and this is my autism story. It's sunshines too. Stay tuned here on Dr. Poetry's Hear Me Out Poetry.
It's my punch, yeah, let me shine. Ain't no cure needed, I'm doing just fine. Perfectly limitless, can't box me in. Not a puzzle piece, never needed to fit in. Infinite vibes, infinite ways. Unapologetic, I don't need to be swayed. I was born to stand out, never fade. So why you trying to fit me in a world you made? I'm a dolphin, it's realistic. Don't disguise, I'm autistic. See you breathing, yeah, you wishing, but I can move with no permission. Y'all reach for me, but I set the tone in my own world. Still hold the throne. See you watching, yeah, you jealous, low key. Wishing you could move as slick as me. I ain't gotta fit, I make my space. Rewrite the rules, I own my pace. See the world in a whole new light. Different don't mean wrong, it just mean right. Step in my world, open your mind. Limitless vision, I'm one of a kind. Ain't no shame, just let So step in my world, open your mind, limitless vision, one of a kind. Ain't no shame, just let me be. Unapologetically autistic, fully me. Fully me. It's realistic, no disguise. I'm autistic, see me thriving, hear you wishing, but I move with no permission. So step in my
When my mind gets weary and my eyes get teary, I open my heart and bare my soul. The poetry begins to unfold. As I write or as I type, I capture the rhythm of my life. Happy moments but also pain and strife. Poetry is my water, it's my life. Healing to my soul through joy and strife. Absolute beauty unfolds, carrying me into stories untold. It's my life, it's my soul. Poetry. Each word a drop, each line a stream, flowing through my hopes and dreams. The healing power takes control, bringing peace to my weary soul.